Hello guys, and welcome back to Strategic Command World War II World at War with our Allied playthrough. In the last episode, I discussed all my plans with the USSR and how I plan to achieve victory in Europe utilizing primarily their manpower. That took a while to explain and equally as long to actually put into action. So, check out the previous episode if you really want to know about it. It would be way too much to try to repeat. We still have this whole turn ahead of us, separate to that, with every other nation to look at. Let's start with the UK's fronts, as that's going to probably take the next large amount of time out of everything. We did defeat one of the Italian colonies. I guess we also kind of defeated this one. Italian East Africa. Occupied. Yeah, I mean, I guess we kind of... I don't even remember wiping this out. I don't remember getting the plunder screen. But I know I've seen it before, so certainly we probably did accomplish that much. We still have the upgrades for mobility for India. That's going to take forever, unfortunately. The army, however, can walk its happy ass down the road and get right up near Addis Ababa, where it should be hopefully come in pretty good use very soon. We can finally force march again, which I'm going to do because it's the only way to really move this artillery. Now that this artillery is actually in supply, we now have open to us utilizing the Sudan Defense Force Corps, which, as you can see, by the way, here's perfect confirmation. An HQ can only affect the nation that it belongs to. Like, can you see this? It's not going for the Indians, only the Sudanese. So, yeah, when we get this HQ up here, it's only going to affect the Brits. It's not going to affect the Rhodesians. Rhodesians don't count, because that's not the Brits. We need a Rhodesian one. Only these ones, which is thankfully like everything else. Maybe I should have left the Rhodesians back here in Tripoli. Oh, I haven't left anything back there yet. I don't even know if I will, but we'll figure that out when we get to it. Because upgrading cores, at least, is not that expensive, and due to just the nature of Africa, we're going to go ahead and upgrade the Sudan Defense Force Corps with anti-air defense and mobility. That will help it get around. The Indians, of course, once again, cannot actually get any of this. It does look like they can benefit from supply, although probably not whatever other buffs HQs help provide overall. So we're going to get the Gurkhas moving south. They're going to go sit in this town, which hopefully will start producing some more supply. That would be nice. I think there was like a garrison over here. You know, I kind of just didn't even process that there was a town over here at all. Let's go up this way, and what do we see? An enemy garrison looking at me. The South Africans, I don't know why I'm not just sending them back to where the South African HQ is, but here we are. We can attack. We dealt no damage, we took no damage. That's quite impressive, given the circumstances. I'm going to wait to move this up until the Sudanese force gets moving up. Maybe I'll move the South Africans down south after we can get the Sudanese over here. Maybe the Indians will go over there. I don't really know what we're going to do. I don't really know what we're going to do. All I know is attacking here is dumb. We're going to move past them again, though. We have, I believe, enough action points. We can go next to this HQ again and attack it. And voila! This time we took some damage, unfortunately. And then we're just going to go drive back. It's expensive to reinforce HQs, so dealing this damage is assisting us one way or another. The Air Force fighters we have, the desert ones that are in Greece, can reinforce back up to 8. They've been getting pretty stretched out. We don't have enough fighters here to cover all this. This is where having Greek fighters would be especially handy. Greek fighters that can properly utilize the Greek supply without needing a British HQ over there. But I hope to get a British HQ over there literally right now. We can maybe post up in Larissa or something that can help spread supply to the rear in general, while also primarily helping all the Brits that will be coming over. This is going to be very dangerous, but we'll go ahead and load that up in a transport. 45 MPPs to do this, by the way. Oh yeah, I gotta get these guys out of the way, too. I don't entirely know where to send them, but the HQ should help them get in supply pretty quickly. The Rhodesian Special Forces, I'll send up right behind this western front. They can probably be useful over there shortly, I hope. And then that frees up space for the HQ to land, which we will sail over, not encountering any enemy ships, which is good. We're now in Athens, which honestly, we might just be able to stay in. Everything should be in range of Athens, but ideally we'd want to move up to Larissa eventually. because that'll just be closer to everything. There's like no room on the front whatsoever. Thankfully, everything coming up here has mobility. So we can actually just kind of blaze past the front line whenever we want. The Greeks themselves don't really have that, except for this corps, because this corps is the one thing that came up here to defend the Metaxas line. We're going to go ahead and reinforce that up to 10 out of 10 strength, because the enemies have, what a surprise, been attacking it. I wonder why. Maybe because it is the only corps up here. They're going to keep attacking it. It's down to 2 out of 4 entrenchment. If they keep it up and they start seeing any success, I'm going to swap it out with the Macedonian army so that the corps can recover in the good entrenchment of the other part of the Metaxas line. And then this army will just hold them back. And with the anti-tank down here entrenching, even if they don't send tanks over here, they're not going to be able to get across the river with this thing here. Not at all. It is in supply with the help of the Greek HQ, even if the Greek HQ is not directly benefiting it in whatever other way it does. I don't really know. But for now, we still have enough entrenchment here that I feel like we could just leave this corps here for the time being. It's not very expensive to recover it in its current state. Now, the Athens corps can go ahead and get up to 10, which it has not been at for who knows how long. I guess I'll set my guys up to potentially push into Albania or into these mountains momentarily. But for the meantime, I have to just think about holding the line, which shouldn't be that hard. The north at Metaxas with this corps is probably going to be the hardest part. Honestly, it could potentially be a pretty good idea to actually just get the WDF army heading up here and replacing this. It's maybe a waste, but with 3 armies up here, you know, they're never getting through. But even this corps should be enough. So for now, we're just going to move the WDF army up to Larissa, because then we'll be able to choose what to do with it next turn, whether that's going north or otherwise. The anti-tank up here should be good enough to help with this anyway. We can go ahead and put this corps on Tripoli, where I might keep them. I might send them away later, who knows. We're gonna go take the TAC bombers, and we gotta fly them out. Whoever getting out there is gonna be fun. What's supply like on Crete itself? Some spots have 5. We'll go send it to Crete first. This is still part of Greece, technically, as we try to get it north up to where we want it to end up at the end of the day. We do have a tank and some field artillery to send up as well. So we're going to start with the tank. 34 MPPs to put that in transport. Let's send that up to this port, where we can go drop that off here and then start sending that up north. We're also going to send the desert field artillery, not very deserty anymore, huh? Who can transport 18 MPPs to send that out. Send that up to the same port here. Deploy it next to the city, same thing. And the desert recon's going to take a little bit longer. I can't really force march its supply here so bad. We're going to start driving over to Benghazi, Tobruk, where we can go ahead and transport that later. I really don't know if I'm going to keep this corps here or not. Quite frankly, I'm thinking if I do leave anything to defend here that's not a garrison, like the Sudanese Defense Force would be perfect for it, because they have an HQ, they have a corps. That's good enough for now, but in addition to that, they can get another corps. 2 corps and an HQ. Kind of defending Libya area would be cool, except like I don't know if I even need that, because again, I don't know if this is going to actually turn into a big battlefield like it did in real life, because who's going to attack this? Who's going to take this? The Axis are completely stuck where they are right now, unless they get free units spawning in, but that's partially why I'm trying to leave something behind just in case, because I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know how easy or hard this is going to be. Now we'll also take the first corps, we'll attack this enemy Italian corps. Done 2 damage. We've been hitting this one forever, just grinding XP off of it. We're going to swap out with the second corps, who has replenished, and we're going to go ahead and attack it again. Another 2 damage, not taking any damage, and pushing it further back into Albania. If it stays like that, we'll definitely be able to get the Brits up in front in no time flat. Greece is never falling at this rate. This is fantastic. I'm so happy with this. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start strat bombing in France again. See if we do some damage to the supply there. Yep. Again, the supply here is probably so good that nothing I do is going to matter. But I'm also kind of using this as recon. Ooh, this produces a lot of MPPs for the Italians. Let's bomb it again. Yeah, the MPPs are going down now with the supply. Looks like MPPs go down the moment supply meets it. So if MPP gain is 5 and supply is 10, you have to lower the supply to 5 to start reducing the MPPs along with supply. That's what looks like is happening here. And so the main reason I'm actually doing these strat bombings is not to actually take MPPs or supply away from Italy or these Germans or what have you. The main reason I'm doing it is to figure out if there's any enemy planes up here, which I have learned that there is not. Therefore, I can go ahead and use my tactical bombers. However, even with the ground attack upgrades, it doesn't show that we're actually really going to get much done, which is highly unfortunate. However, that's not going to stop me from trying, because I have to try. At the very least, it should hopefully lower their entrenchment. Let's find out. Okay, what was that? What was that effect? Let's see. So entrenchment's still high, but the readiness and morale has dipped down. And as this occurs, we gain the ability to actually hurt them. Before, we had no chance of hurting them. Now we actually have a chance to hurt them. And if we're willing to trade some losses, potentially, this could still work out for us. This could push it in the right direction. We could even strafe, but that's probably not a very good idea. And our bombing would be terrible from the carriers. There is still the first corps that we were sending. We're going to send that over to the dock. We got to move the HQ out of the way. Land the first Canadian Corps here and swap it with the HQ. Get everything kind of back in position. The one thing here, except for, the partisan, that doesn't have some sort of mobility upgrade, I can't reinforce the partisans France past 8. I'm realizing that's because their max strength of a partisan is 8. You have to do elite reinforcements to get past this. So I'm going to do that. Because France's points should go into something, and I've already spent on the only garrison I could buy. We have 2 Polynesian garrisons. So let's go ahead and buff up these partisans with the 1 elite reinforcement we could get. Oh, that's funny. It shows 9 out of 8 instead of 8 out of 9 now. Because of how it's an elite quote-unquote reinforcement. Yeah, 8 is the max they can get. Very strange. But these partisans could have some use, and they're on France's dime, who right now is just kind of chilling in Polynesia, and only Polynesia, accumulating points for like little to no reason. Because French Equatorial Africa, that just joined the Brits, so it's not really anything that concerns them. They're not really taking care of their own units. I can't even research anything better for them, so their partisans will like never have infantry weapons or anything. I could never upgrade these ever. Now let's look away to the ocean for a little bit, shall we? We still know of this U-boat up here, and we're going to go ahead and attack it again with the Jersey Destroyer. Dealing no damage, but making it dive away. And it's kind of pressed up now against German Norway. Let's see what we can do here. Sworn, yeah, there was more destroyers. Guess they're not as close by as I thought they were. This one, the Annapolis Destroyer, we're going to go ahead and get that back up to full strength. We're going to go with the Ass Destroyer and go ahead and begin some ASW. That time it kind of worked against us, but oh well. What are you going to do? I would like to send up more destroyers to help counter this German sub and stop it from causing any damage to this now very important line here. So I'm going to sail the Amazon Destroyer up there. Every destroyer that we can get over there will help. The time for having targets to bomb with the carriers is kind of gone. So we're going to go ahead and set the remaining carrier with no damage on it, the Ark Royal carrier, to fighter mode. And we're going to send that just south of Brest, in the region of all of this stuff that's going on here. We are going to go take the Suffolk Heavy Cruiser and use that to block off the Ark Royal carrier a little bit. Some extra protection for the port of Brest and everything around. We do have 2 units to deploy as the UK. Number 1 being the Duke of York battleship, which looks like it's probably going to be limited to the UK proper. Yeah. Maybe something the UK has elsewhere? No, looks like you can pretty much only deploy it around the UK proper. It's a battleship, so it's going in the Irish Sea where it's going to be safe. We have another battleship. This one has 3 upgrades, so it's coming with the ASW protection. And finally, we also have the first coastal gun for Malaya. There's a lot of places we can put this, and I'm not entirely sure what's going to be best. It can only actually strike at hexes around it, so we're not going to have full coverage from this, obviously. However, it can be very useful in protecting. However, I'm trying to figure out where would be best, and I'm thinking based on the actual supply of this region with no HQ, and I don't expect an HQ to ever get over here, this might be the best tile. So if the Japanese try to land here, then theoretically it would shoot. It could also help defend Singapore, which is the most important part of all of Malaya right now. So we'll go ahead and place it right there. The first coastal gun, we'll place it right there. It may not be as defensive of a position. Actually, look, it actually generates its own supply. It has a supply of 10. Well, no, maybe that's for right now. I don't know. But it can build up to 3 shells. It can entrench based on where it is. So the entrenchment here is not as great as it could have been in the jungle, but I still believe this is probably the most strategically important location I could put it. Because if it's over here and then they somehow get around it or ignore it and just march down to Singapore, what good could it have ever done? However, since it also has artillery weapon upgrades, it can fire at land units, meaning it's an effective repellent for enemy amphibious landings around it, I guess, but it's also a potential defense for Singapore proper. Now, available to me as the UK is 307 MPPs. And I've been thinking, how do I best use 307 MPPs that will help me with the current situation? Do I send more units to Brest? We can upgrade this tank, sneak that in, and then really push an assault. That's a potential possibility. We have the carriers who need their fighters restored, 3 of them, 2 of them only remaining with full strength. We have more naval upgrades we have to do. And I thought about it, and I think this is the perfect time to go purchase a new unit. It's been a while. Not repurchasing land units. No. We're going to Greece, and we're purchasing the Hellenic fighter unit. We're giving it all the upgrades that we can give it. 297 MPPs, more expensive than, say, buying fighters from the UK. Look at the Malta AF here, just a random name. It would only be 248 with all these upgrades. That's a big difference. Although this would just appear in like UK proper. We could always operate it out. However, operating a fighter, let's go take a look here. If we look at the fighters we have, if I want to operate this, it's 39 MPPs just to operate it. Meaning we've almost matched the cost anyway. So rather than just weakening myself somewhere else or anything like that, we might as well just have the Greeks stay fully committed to defending themselves. Now that we have enough presence to guarantee Greece will not fall, I'm willing to make the investment into Greece to get their final unit, this fighter unit. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to purchase that. And then that is going to arrive on the 5th of June, 1942. That's going to take a while to arrive. It does take a while to get certain units. June is more than half a year away. But we need planes here. And if it's a Greek one that can deal with Greek supply and permanently be here, that's all the better. The British here, like this fighter may be better deployed, the whole Air Force may be better deployed to France at some point. At the very least, since we don't know what the British are going to be best off doing, we do know what the Greeks are going to be best off doing, and we might as well have a Greek unit working towards that. I aim to get the First Corps here reinforced next turn, hopefully, and getting the British units moving up and making the Italians feel some pain, ideally. I could attack the Italians here, but I don't feel like doing it. I'd rather hold what little we have at Brest. I'd rather just hold on to it for the time being. I feel like that would work better. We're going to set these carriers all back to combat air patrol. However, as you can see, we could do some damage to the enemy ports, and I have been thinking about it. It would be a way to use the bombers, even while they're not at full strength. However, we could still potentially suffer losses. We could get surprised at some point doing this. I'd rather just have them be completely safe. So we are not going to actually do this for right now. We'll take the illustrious carrier and we will send it up to the port of Bristol, where it'll be safe and we can reinforce it some other time. We have just enough MPPs to upgrade the light cruiser Southampton with ASW capabilities, mainly defenses, which, you know what, that's better than nothing. Now that we've escorted this Canadian unit, we got to get back on our positions. So let's send the Javelin destroyer. Let's send that right about, let's say, up here. There you go. So it can guard these trade routes. Whereas the Mohawk Destroyer is going to go just kind of guard down here, reforming our little triangle. Probably not the exact same positions, but that's fine. It doesn't matter. We have used 100% of our MPPs as the UK, and now that's actually pretty notable because the UK is never going to be making like 500 or 500 plus MPPs ever again. Now that 40% of everything we earned, even with sometimes reductions due to the season, is going to be going to the USSR. That's why I thought to kind of take the actions I did. We want to make Greece somewhere that can hold and fight with what's available to it. We want to make Brest more of an annoyance that we exploit over time, more than a full-on offensive. And we want to scale back our usage of our naval ships where unnecessary, so that we don't burn as many MPPs, while funding the USSR as much as is humanly possible with whatever we have to spare. Now, down by China, we have, I'm sure, a lot to do. Enemy readiness and morale here on Haikou is faltering. Let's go ahead and Arty Haikou to get rid of the entrenchment and some readiness and morale. No damage done, but I did see readiness and morale damage done. So we're going to go ahead and attack. We dealt 1 or 2 damage there with the 68th Army. We're going to go move that back, give it a chance to kind of recover. We're going to move the 1st Army forward and have that attack next. Another 1 damage dealt, 1 damage taken, unfortunately. This is a core, so taking damage isn't always the best situation. How's our supply up on the front here? Fucking terrible, but we do have an HQ coming down here, so that's something. We're going to take this core, we're going to start marching it around to Luan, whatever the fuck. And we're going to try to take that. We're going to march down to Hugh, which is going to provide us 2 supply. That's better than nothing. We're going to march the 1st Corps down. Yeah, it looks like we're going to march them down right now. We're going to march the Chen HQ down, which is going to be providing support for everyone in Indochina when it gets there. It's not there right now. We do have a new garrison to deploy. And I'm actually going to deploy it. You know what I'm telling you I'll do? I'm going to take the 1st garrison at Nanning. I'm going to move it southwest because it's going to go sit on Hanoi. Oh, it can make it all the way there. I'm kind of surprised by that. It's going to defend Hanoi because Hanoi is with China now. Indochina is with China. And Indochina cannot actually make its own garrisons. So what best to defend a capital the Japanese aren't very likely to attack, but is still in danger, than a Chinese garrison, when the Indo-Chinese themselves can open up an army in 2 corps for the Chinese. We're going to take this garrison, this new one, and put that on Nanning, just for the time being, while we figure out what else we would really do with it. Looking at what else we have available in the south, first and foremost, we're going to take the 7th garrison off of Foochow. I know it kind of just arrived here, but we're going to get rid of it. We can get more elite reinforcements on this course. Let's go ahead and do that. We are going to move, which one is the least experienced? We're going to move that one onto Foochow. We're going to keep the 4th Corps here next to Foochow. We have the 4th Army here, which is going to go towards Foochow as well. And we have, let's see, the 23rd Army is going to go near Shanghai. We have, let's see, the ability to get some elite reinforcements for this corps. This one, not as much, but we'll probably end up moving that closer to Foochow, to be honest. Because this is 1 port here at Shanghai, and then there's 2 ports down here, so we're going to want to kind of split up the units based on that. Just kind of getting ready for potential amphibious landings and transports. I only wish I knew what was here, if anything. There might be nothing. However, we still need an amphibious transport to land somewhere. Amphibious transports can also hurt whatever they're going after. We can only summon 1 right now. When this is done, we'll probably gain the ability to deploy a 2nd one. Certain countries gain more, I believe primarily Japan. We are not Japan, so clearly we're not going to be getting that. But we have an army, 2 corps here. We'll have 2 corps, and an army over here is the way we're going to do it. We're going to get elite reinforcements for this corps down south. I'm not even holding back on the elite reinforcements. They make our job easier, and we have so many numbers, we're not in any rush to actually get anyone anywhere. There is this army, which I'm not fully sure where I want to send it, if I want to send it anywhere. I guess if we have 2 corps an army, 2 corps an army, we could spare another army for the south. Whatever I was initially going to do with this, we could spare another army for the south. So everything is kind of equally deployed. We have like a BEF at every single one of these ports, basically. Everything else here, though, is going to go north. And there's not much holding it back from doing that. We did get the Flying Tigers up to strength 10. We can actually get an elite reinforcement, so we'll go ahead and do that. Again, I'm not really holding back when it comes to this kind of thing. We have some garrisons that could do with upgrades. Could do. They don't need it. But it's so very inexpensive, and these guys are not moving anytime any soon anyway. China's still getting 60 MPPs from the Hanoi Kunming Railroad. I don't know if that's ever going to go away at this rate, because we haven't lost really access to anything over here that would get rid of it. Maybe it'll go away when Japan declares war on America. I'm not sure, but we still have more units to move. So there's no other upgrades I can really apply to any of these other locations, so that's fine. We're going to leave these fighters down here. We have anti-air up north, which is not enough, really. But we'll get the Flying Tigers over there in place soon enough. We just want to make sure that they are as ready as they could be. The 54th Army can only move this far, so we're going to move them that far. We're going to move this corps towards Tientsin, as far as it can currently get, which is being slowed down by the 54th Army here. The supply at Mukden has gone down, as I predicted and hoped. The supply readiness and morale of everything up here is not really doing very well. They rushed over here to defend it. Hell, even our shitty, undersupplied light tanks can do quite a bit of damage here. However, we also have a push that can go into Korea. And we're going to want to continue that. So let's start with this corps. Send it down here. Yeah, because all they have down here are their fucking planes. Whether they're entrenched or not, their planes can't be that bad. Now, apparently, our attack over here is just going to be fucking terrible. I think it's partially due to the extreme lack of supply that we are facing here. It's hard to supply out here. Pyongyang produces a decent amount, but the supply here still isn't the greatest. We are hopefully going to be able to hurt them, yes, and maybe scare them off. We're going to attack with this corps first. We've dealt 1 damage. That's not a lot, but oh my god, it's literally... What is this, their entire air force down here in Korea? This is retarded. We're going to move the 42nd Army down here with the 2 corps. Look, it's like another BEF. We're going to attack again with this corps. The goal, if we can't do massive damage, is just to get all these bombers to get the hell out of Korea. Go away. We do not need to be slowed down by you. Just plain and simple. We do not need to be slowed down by you. You do not need to be wasting our time. That's kind of the idea I'm having. I'm unsure if I should even go on the offensive up here just yet, given the current supply situation, or if I should just start stacking bodies up there and see what happens. Japanese supply in these regions isn't really going to improve, so let's move about this a little more methodically than just attacking with whatever reaches the front, because there is opportunity for improvement here. Now, once again, supply is not really the greatest over here, however, so not quite sure. Okay, this could be a decent position. It has level 4 supply. This is level 2, which is why I'm very unsure about it. I don't know how this supply here is so much better. But we're going to go ahead and move the tanks right here. That movement really hurts their ability to attack. We're going to put the L Corps, the famous L Corps, next to them, kind of holding a front here. This is an army. And our chances against them really isn't that bad. We're going to take the Dare to Die Special Forces, move them around Mukden. We're going to move the 41st Army to Showa Steel. We are going to take... We got to move somebody else here. We're going to take the 12th Army and move that forward. Move the heavy artillery forward. This is about as far as it can get. Unfortunately, still not in shooting range. However, we do have more stuff that can move. Continue to move eastwards. Yeah, still can't really get the HQ past, but not the biggest deal. We'll go ahead and move the 5th Army. We'll go ahead and we'll just send this corps to this town, and we'll send this corps to border the Mukden army, just to make it continue to feel some pressure, if at all possible. We need to keep advancing the HQs, ideally. I'm going to have this one go sit on Jahol, and hopefully enhance the supply coming from this region, and reach out further to the other Chinese units out here. I don't have much room to move much of anything else, however... This engineer certainly does not need to be where it is, so we're going to move that back so we can move the AA forward so we can protect everything of value here, a good amount of it. We're going to move this corps forward, following our units. The army here at Chengchao can also start moving north. There's no point putting it at Tsingsao. We can't really launch anything from there that would be worthwhile, nor do we have the capacity for amphibious transports to really even do that to begin with. China's research is still full. There's nothing I can really research right now till something else finishes, which this will, like, these things will soon, but still, it's pretty limited. We're gonna go ahead and upgrade this garrison. Looks like I missed one. And I have 299 MPP remaining that I can use. Diplomacy is also full, which pretty much just leaves me with upgrading any HQs that haven't moved, but a lot of them are already kind of capped out. Yeah, the only two that don't have rating 6 generals are the ones that we moved and thus cannot replace. Which leads me to look at production and think, well, what do we need then? Well, an HQ could be useful. It's also extremely expensive. You know what else could be useful? More of an air force. And we can get very little of an air force. I think we could have recruited one more fighter unit, but I think the Flying Tigers have kind of taken that spot, which makes me realize if you had bought this fighter earlier is the only way within the hard caps that you could have gotten more than 2 fighters for China. But tactical bombers and medium bombers can come in handy. Tactical bombers can hit enemy ground units by default. Medium bombers can de-entrench the enemies pretty well, apparently. Their strike range is a little bit longer. However, they mostly have the capacity increase of being partially strategic bombers, but they don't really have very good capability to attack enemy land units. But I am thinking, we have like no upgrades for this, but it's still better than not having this at all, especially if we're going to be attacking anything. For example, we could bomb Taipei. We could bomb that. Even if we're just bombing the resources, that could be pretty indicative of figuring out what's there. So I'm thinking, with all the MPPs we're getting, if we can't put it into research or diplomacy or anything, we could put it into the Air Force. We don't need any more land units. Some things could be handy, maybe anti-air, but we don't need any more of this. A light cruiser's not going to really fucking help me very much, but more air units could. So let's go ahead and we're going to get the first tactical bombers. We're going to pay 270 MPPs for this. It's going to take till June 1942 for these to arrive, so maybe too little too late, but I'm sure they'll find a way to come in handy. Let's go ahead and purchase that. Might as well use the MPPs on something. We might as well. And with that, we have a nice full episode. There's very few things left for me to do in this turn. Maybe like just another 2 or 3 minutes worth. We'll finish that up on the next episode, and then we'll hit end turn and watch probably a massive fall of the Soviet front line. But as I discussed in the previous episode, that is calculated, and I do have a plan. But for now, thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.